King Charles's 75th birthday, but it's Harry and Meghan who are apparently pouting and crying about it, as they have not received an invitation. Or have they? There has been this backwards and forwards in the media now about whether or not Harry and Meghan have been extended an invitation to King Charles's 75th birthday. If you remember correctly, actually Meghan and Harry were at Charles's 70th birthday party. We had pictures of Catherine and William and Harry and Meghan going into, I don't know if it was Clarence's house or Buckingham Palace or wherever the party was. Both of the couples went there. Meghan famously wore her very, very expensive blood diamond earrings. But this time it seems like Harry and Meghan maybe didn't get an invitation. And they're apparently whining and pouting about it, talking about how Harry doesn't mean to snub his father. He never does. He just doesn't show up to anything, doesn't accept any of the invitations given by Charles. But he is not snubbing him. That's the narrative Harry and Meghan want to get out there. But looking at the whole situation, it's almost comical that Harry and Meghan, despite breaking themselves away from the royal family, still are desperate to have a hand extended to them every time just so that they can slap it away. So we are going to look into this birthday fiasco that's occurring so far, in addition to a couple of other things we have going on in the royal sphere. So King Charles opened Parliament. We also have Prince William giving out the Earthshot Prize. We also have the state visit to Denmark. We have a lot of things going on. But like everything else, Harry and Meghan seem to be surprised that King Charles, after everything they've done, doesn't really want them at his birthday party. That is apparently too difficult for the couple to imagine. So we are going to talk a little bit about this today. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network, my name is Brittany. I provide y'all compelling royal commentary about the latest news, sometimes the drama going on behind the scenes. And we also have a weekly newsletter, a fashion channel, and we also have a membership. So if you're interested in behind the scenes things, you can check that out. I also have a link to my jewelry, and I have a percentage off if you're interested. So all that stuff is linked down below. But although Harry and Meghan oftentimes take the spotlight, there's a lot of other things going on this week, like the state opening of Parliament. For the first time as king in his official capacity, King Charles has opened Parliament, and he was there with Queen Camilla, including his pages of honor, her ladies in waiting. And so this was the first big moment. It was the first time Queen Camilla has worn the George IV state diadem. So this was made in the 1800s. It is very, very famous, often featured on currency for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And so it wasn't a surprise to see that on Camilla. We had gotten some indication the day before that that might be a possibility. She also re-wore her coronation dress, and she seemed very, very nervous. I don't know if it was because she was wearing such an iconic piece or that she was in her coronation robes again. It just seemed like a very, very nerve-wracking time for Camilla. But Charles went ahead and delivered a speech, obviously given to him by the government. So go ahead and take a listen to a little bit of this here.
My lords and members of the House of Commons, it is mindful of the legacy of service and devotion to this country set by my beloved mother, the late Queen, that I deliver this, the first King's speech in over 70 years. That is why my government's priority is to make the difficult but necessary long-term decisions to change this country for the better.
Yes, and King Charles also got to wear, once again, the imperial state crown. This is worn pretty much at every state opening of Parliament, unless it's something like Russia. They had done a quick election of some sort. It's a bit different than the United States, the way we do our elections, which are just, every 2 to 4 years for various offices, or 6 years when it comes to the Senate. So they do it a little bit differently there. So unless it's a shotgun parliamentary session or something like that, usually it happens around this time every year. And Catherine did not attend, but I believe she is doing an engagement tomorrow. Prince William is obviously still in Singapore for the Earthshot Prize, and they had the official ceremony this evening with a couple of celebrities showing up, very excited to see, obviously, the future King of England. So go ahead and take a listen to a little bit of King. Keep wanting to call him King William. I don't know where that came from. But go ahead and take a listen to a little bit of Prince William's speech here.
Congratulations.
Hey. Well done, all of you. Fantastic. Listen, I'm so inspired by all of you. And each video clip of you guys, I was like, more, but what more? I'm going to say for next year I want more VT, I want more footage, because we need to follow you around a bit more.
No, I watched from the back here, and then I got to speak to all of the winners, which was lovely, very inspiring. But yeah.
British, so you know. Interesting, guys. They give you a harder job. Thank you, sir. I knew you could handle it. So. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's so great to see the Earthshot Prize again, once again, have this great award ceremony. Is something that continues to grow and evolve. And although I think it was still a little bit disappointing we didn't get Catherine this year, I can't wait to see where they show up next year. Because, okay, so we've done the UK, the United States, we've done Asia, and in Singapore. And so where are we going to go? Is it going to be Canada next, Australia, New Zealand, somewhere around there? Or will we go to like Asia proper, the Middle East, Africa? There are a bunch of different locations where we could have this event. So it'd be really exciting to see where they end up. And as well, we have the continuing state visit between Denmark and Spain. So King Philippe and Queen Letizia of Spain are still currently in Denmark. They're doing a series of engagements, some with the royals, some without. And so it's always great to see these families come together. And one really special picture that the royal court shared was a picture of Prince Vincent and his godfather, King Philippe of Spain. So obviously throughout the royal world, many royal children have other royals as godparents. Crown Princess Victoria is often considered the godmother of Europe because she is the godmother to several royal children and many heirs. She's a godmother to Ingrid Alexandra, Catherine Amalia, I think Prince Christian, and they were all in her wedding party as well. And she also has Princess Eleanor, who is the youngest child of the King and Queen of Belgium. So she is just much beloved throughout Europe. And so she has many godchildren. So that is always exciting to see, just that little bit of insight into their family relationships. But we also have some, you could say, almost troubling news in the case of Denmark, because apparently a photographer of some sort or a journalist got a picture of Crown Prince Frederick apparently leaving the apartment of a woman who is some sort of Spanish aristocrat, and apparently he had stayed there all night. Now, I don't know the details. I'm not going to go into that because I don't know. But what I will say is that I think for everyone, it's always a good lesson to learn to make sure that you are not caught in a moment where impropriety could be alleged. So if you are, let's say your wife is out of town, which in this case, Crown Princess Mary was in the United States, it's probably not a great idea to have, let's say, a dinner meeting with another woman. Even if it is a meeting, how do you do that so if people catch you, it doesn't come across that you might be having an affair? Not saying that he is, we don't know the details, but it's always very good to be conscientious of that. So for example, when it comes to Prince William and Catherine, one of the big things has been the stupid rumor about Rose Hanbury, who is the Marchioness of Cholmondeley, and she has been accused of having an affair with William. Now, one of the great things about this, in terms of the Catherine and William side to push back against this, is that there is no picture of William and this woman together alone. If there was a picture like that, that would give some fuel to the rumors. Instead, there's nothing. There's actually only a handful of pictures of William and Rose ever together, and they're actually with their spouses at an official engagement. So I think that is very important to point out that oftentimes it is best, if you are a person who has the media spotlight, just not to get caught with somebody else meeting one-on-one with somebody of the opposite sex, because that can fuel rumors. I know some people, and this may have been a bit of an extreme, but Billy Graham obviously never even wanted to, I don't think he even wanted to be in an elevator with another woman alone. And to many that might seem too extreme, but given his profile, if he had been caught with another woman alone at some point, that would have led to a lot of rumors, because he did travel quite a bit of his marriage. So that is just something to keep in mind, I think, for all royals, is be very careful what you do, even when you think the cameras aren't rolling, because you never know when there's a paparazzi hiding in the corner, which is a little bit scary, but good lesson to remember. Now back to this birthday drama, because this is interesting, because I remember first seeing Richard Eden talking about this, that Harry and Meghan got that invitation and snubbed it to Charles's 75th birthday. And I'm like, well, of course, that's what they've done the whole time. They've snubbed every invitation. Meghan Markle doesn't seem to ever want to step foot in the UK unless she is absolutely forced, has to. She doesn't want to interact with any members of the royal family. She doesn't want to ever be in a situation where she has to play second fiddle to any member of the royal family. And so Meghan Markle is perfectly willing to always trade off that royal title, but she doesn't want to interact with the people who gave her that title. That is what we've seen this entire time since Harry and Meghan got together. But now, all of a sudden, no. They didn't get an invitation. It was never extended. So this is really weird and yet sort of interesting. Because obviously I think the monarchy has done an exceptional job of always extending an invitation to Harry and Meghan, because then they look like the bad guys for snubbing it. And I think this has played to them very, very well, because they look open and welcoming, whereas Harry and Meghan looked closed down and just like they don't want to engage. And so this backwards and forwards just is rather fascinating. So let me read you what the Times said, because this story first came out in the Times of London. And I will say the Times of London is a very, very, very respectable publication. So this is comparable to something like the New York Times. Now I know people have disagreements about whether or not the New York Times is too biased in certain areas. Not arguing that, just saying that New York Times overall is considered a very reputable publication. The Wall Street Journal as well is a very reputable publication. So when something is in the Times of London, I tend to give it a lot of credibility because it is in there. Valentine Lowe is obviously one of the well-respected authors within the Times of London, and I even interviewed him and I chatted with him about his book Courtiers, and I find him to be a very credible source because what he does so excellently is that he doesn't lean too far into the Harry and Meghan debate. He's very clear and concise, and he's very much an old school journalist. I mean, I think he does have his bias. I think he recognizes that Harry and Meghan have issues, you could say, but he's not dipping too far into the debate, which I very much respect. And this outlet, obviously, we more go with commentary because that's what so many people are interested in. And maybe as this channel grows, we'll have a section where it's just royal news entirely, but we're not quite there yet. So we talk about commentary issues. And so let me go into a little bit of this article because it's an article talking about not only Charles's birthday, but the tension that remains with his youngest son. So it says, yet one key guest will be missing. Although it is understood Charles invited his second son to the family gathering, the Duke of Sussex is not making the trip from California. In September, Prince Harry also turned down the offer to spend some time with his father at Balmoral while he was visiting the UK for a charity event at the time of the anniversary of Queen Elizabeth's death. 5 years ago, in a BBC documentary to mark Charles's 70th birthday, Harry joined Prince William to heap praise on his father for doing an amazing job as a role model, expressing his gratitude and support for him and Meghan. How times have changed. And it goes on to say the distance between them continues to widen. It is thought that father and son have not seen or spoken to each other in person since last September during the mourning period and funeral of Queen Elizabeth. So it is incredible to see how much times have changed between when Harry and Meghan got married and now. That the chasm is so wide between the two parties is a reflection on Harry and Meghan and their attitude. And the article goes into this further, talking about how because of the reality TV show, even though they had some initial support even after the Oprah Winfrey interview, that has mostly evaporated. And even the royal family is just not willing to indulge Prince Harry and Meghan Markle anymore. So if King Charles extended an invitation to Harry and Harry rejected it, I mean, who would be surprised? But the Harry and Meghan side, oh no, they cannot allow this to stand. So what do? Well, they come out and say, oh no, we didn't get an invitation. And they're putting the burden going, well, the royal family essentially is trying to spin a negative narrative on us. Isn't that the pot calling the kettle black there? I think so. So here's what they have said through their spokesperson and apparently some quote unquote insiders, which is pretty much either Harry and Meghan, their friends, or Omid Scobie. I think those are the couple of possibilities there. So it says, according to one well-placed insider, communications between the king and Prince Harry remain pretty poor. They don't speak much, if at all. It perhaps doesn't help that the workaholic king hasn't been an easy man to pin down. Unlike most families who communicate by text and WhatsApp, senior royals such as Charles III are rather more old school, preferring to communicate by telephone or letter. Traditionally, he would always schedule a call with both his sons on Sunday, but while he converses weekly with William, there is remarkably little contact with his other darling boy. So we got a lot of this, is that communications between Harry and Charles is very, very poor. And nobody is surprised by this. And apparently, Harry even snubbed Charles in a speech he recently gave to help the wounded or something. And it was a military engagement, of course, I think in the United States. I'm like, why is he talking to the United States military? He was a British officer who spent most of his time playing video games in Afghanistan. So this guy was not in the front lines of combat, but he apparently thinks he is. But he wore a series of medals on his lapel, and the one that was missing was the one for King Charles's coronation. That is low, Harry. That is really, really low. He wore the Platinum Jubilee one, he wore the 60th Diamond Jubilee one, he wore his Golden Jubilee one, and the Afghanistan Campaign Medal, but he refused to wear one that represents his father. And again, he's somehow surprised that they didn't invite him to this thing. I mean, again, the delusion and narcissism is just very strong with Harry and Meghan. So it goes on to say, and this is from the Daily Mail, the Sunday Times reported that Prince Harry had turned down an invitation to the birthday bash and will stay in California. But a spokesperson for the Sussexes told Mail Online that the couple had no idea about it. I mean, wouldn't you think a man who's turning 75, which is a pretty grand birthday, might have a party? So maybe you should see if he's having a party? That might also be an idea too. That might be an idea. There has been no contact regarding an invitation to His Majesty's upcoming birthday. It is disappointing the Sunday Times has misreported this story, they said. The same spokesperson also denied that Meghan, who found fame on Suits, will be making a return to acting following reports earlier this week. Well, she may not, or she may have to. I don't think Harry and Meghan have much else going for them. But honestly, right now, even if she is interested in acting, nothing's going on with the actor strike, so it's sort of a non-story anyways. But again, like I said in a video that I posted yesterday, Harry and Meghan seem to have no plan, no idea what they're doing. And not only that, Meghan's PR company appears to have no clue what to do with them at all, because they don't have any plan for the couple. Harry and Meghan desperately need a plan. They have none. They have no business prospects much anymore. They're basically figureheads, empty vessels, and they seem to have no desire to produce any decent content. And then that's again continuing to come back and bite them because nobody picked them up past the collapse of their Spotify deal. If people wanted Meghan's podcast, they would have gone after Meghan's podcast. They didn't because they knew it wasn't good. And I don't think that issue is changing at all. Goes on to say, a source close to the Sussexes told Mail Online that they were not invited to Charles III's birthday party in London next week. They have not received any invitation and were unaware of any celebrations until the stories came out, the insider said. I'm sure the Duke will find a way to reach out privately to wish His Majesty a happy birthday like he has always done. A friend of the couple suggested the pals could even have leaked the snubbing story to take attention away from the recent royal visit to Kenya, where the king faced calls to apologize for Britain's colonial past. The story is being positioned in a way to make it look like the Duke is snubbing his father, which he is not. Considering the trip to Kenya didn't go well, this might be a welcome distraction. A friend of the Sussexes told the Mail Online that they would normally have been included in plans for a significant event in the UK despite the widening gap between themselves and the rest of the royal family. The story in the Times as well as subsequent stories have been positioned in a way to make it look like the Duke is snubbing his father, which he is not. Okay, that's a lot of information. Let's unpack that a little bit. So one of the things I wanted to point out here is that for all intents and purposes, I have heard nothing to say that Charles's trip to Kenya did not go well. It went well. Was it fantastic and gangbusters? Probably not. But was it what it needed to be? Yes. And did he apologize for some of the actions in the colonial past? Yes. What else is the guy supposed to do? I don't understand what else he's supposed to do in that scenario. And it went really well as far as I'm aware, and I believe I've read somewhere else. Somebody dismissed that assertion, and I think that's entirely true. The trip went fine. The only person I could think of right now who didn't think it went well is Omid Scobie. So I imagine he is the source talking about this because the guy has a book to sell, and his book sells if he can position the monarchy in a way where it looks like it's collapsing when it's actually doing exceptionally well, and it's doing exceptionally well, especially without Harry and Meghan. That's a problem for Harry and Meghan because the monarchy to them can't be doing well if they're not in the picture. But obviously everybody has distanced themselves from them and they are on a ship by themselves, but Harry and Meghan just don't quite know what to do about this whole scenario. So they have to portray the royal family badly in order to get themselves ahead. And it's no surprise that they're turning that back on the royals themselves by saying that Charles is snubbing Harry. Now, could he be snubbing Harry? Of course, that's entirely possible. But is it a surprise? No. Should Harry and Meghan be surprised that every invitation they are extended, they slap down, that eventually the invitations stop coming? No, the invitations will stop coming, and it's your fault. Harry and Meghan are the reason why these invitations are no longer being extended if that is the case. It's all on Harry and Meghan. They've distanced themselves. They've criticized the royal family. They have made it exceptionally hard for the royals to do their work. They haven't accepted any invitations to the vast majority of things. And yet they're sitting there complaining that they weren't invited to Charles's birthday party. Does he even want them there? Probably not. He probably wants the Harry he had before he met Meghan Markle. That's what Charles wants. He's not going to get that right now. So does he really want Harry there? Does he really want Meghan Markle there and her cheap fake giggles and insincerity to go with his 75th birthday? Or would he rather spend it with people he loves and knows love him back? I don't blame Charles if he didn't extend them an invitation. And Harry and Meghan, if they're adults, they should understand why those invitations are stopping. And while I think, again, it is a good idea for the monarchy to always extend an invitation, at this point, if they have decided that this is going to be a private family event and Charles has the right to decide who and who is not at his birthday, and that does not include Harry and Meghan, why, I think that's what he should have. If he doesn't want them there, they shouldn't be there. And that Harry and Meghan are apparently complaining and whining about this just makes them look so ridiculous. They were the ones who decided to leave. They were the ones who decided to burn all the bridges on the way out. And this is the result. Actions have consequences. And if Harry and Meghan can't realize that, then, I mean, just even from a business perspective, why would you invest into people who cannot see their own faults and mistakes? I think it's good to understand where you have failed and how you can do better. Harry and Meghan are not those people. They see their world crashing and burning, and they're wondering who lit the match. It was them. They were the ones who lit the match and destroyed their lives in many ways. They were the ones who damaged their future prospects. They're the ones who are responsible for their cratering business practices. That is Harry and Meghan. No one else in this scenario. It is the two of them who are responsible for this train wreck. And that Charles is maybe finally deciding, you know what? I'm done. If you don't want me in your life, I don't want you in mine at this point. And that might be a healthy approach for Charles, because perhaps every time he sees Harry and every time he attempts to interact with Meghan, they just twist the knife more. So it's better just to not interact at all. And once again, that is on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They're the ones who decided this future. They're the ones who decided to go in this direction. And they should not be surprised that the royal family may be finally putting on the brakes and stepping back. If Harry and Meghan were hoping at some point the royal family would realize their great benefit to the monarchy and just to welcome them back, I think that dream should officially die, because the royal family does not want Prince Harry and Meghan Markle back. They are the biggest headache. They were difficult to work with. They treated the staff poorly, and the royal family has moved on. But Harry and Meghan are the desperate ex-boyfriend and girlfriend who just cannot give up the dream that they had. And they keep desperately clinging to it, and increasingly highlights the disaster that they have made their lives. So guys, let me know what you think of King Charles maybe snubbing Prince Harry for his birthday. Did he or did he not? Let me know in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.